in a mixture that includes Desperate Housewives, How to Get Away with Murder, maybe A Million Little Things, all ABC shows, by the way. This one is on NBC, and you can stream season 1 now on Peacock. Let's talk about Grosse Pointe Garden Society. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my TV review for Grosse Pointe Garden Society. Season 1 of this is streaming now on Peacock. Now, I don't know if it is coming back for a season 2. It hasn't been officially canceled, but it's also not on NBC's fall schedule. Perhaps they're going to do another mid-season with it. They started it this year in June and ended in late May, so it's possible. Maybe this is just going to be one of their mid-season shows, so maybe we can see a season 2 in January, but no word yet on that. So for now, we have these 13 episodes that you can enjoy on Peacock. Before we get into the specifics, though, of the show and my thoughts on it, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are a Dan Reviews It subscriber, thank you so much for that. But if you're not, please consider subscribing and click that notification bell, and you can get the alerts for all my new videos coming out. I do try to post just about every day, so always a lot going on here. And of course, you could like this video, comment below, or share it on your socials. That stuff helps the channel out tremendously. All right, so let's get to this. Yeah, I think this is sort of plucking from some successful series over the last few years. Desperate Housewives, had a more like tongue-in-cheek kind of vibe, and this has that as well, but I do think there's a lot of kind of interpersonal drama with the characters, and I feel like that kind of harkens back a little bit to something like A Million Little Things. It's not as layered as something like This Is Us, which is why I didn't use that as the example for the interpersonal relationships. But yeah, definitely a lot of drama here, but there's, a little bit of that Desperate Housewives kind of flair, the tongue-in-cheek kind of stuff going along. And then How to Get Away with Murder, plot-wise, and you also have an actress from that show in this as well. So this deals with a wealthy suburb. Everything appears to be normal on the surface. However, 4 members of the local garden club get entangled in a scandalous murder. And of course have to figure out how to get out of it. Melissa Fumero, of course, we know her from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. She is one of the leads here, and Aja Naomi King, she is from How to Get Away with Murder. I mean, she's done other things, but that's certainly her longest standing gig. I think she was on the whole series. I only watched the first, 2 seasons, but I think she was on the whole series of How to Get Away with Murder. You also have Ben Rappaport, Anna Sophia Robb, Matthew Davis, and Alexander Hodge as part of the cast. So you've got a teacher, an aspiring writer. You've got a real estate agent, a father of 2, and a socialite come together the night of the garden club's annual gala to bury the body in their own garden. However, as trying to get rid of the evidence, shortly after that, the garden club decides to dig up the ground and make a bigger garden, and all of these things sort of happen that are not conducive to trying to hide this body, and so it goes from there. But really, the murder for me was almost a side plot, because it was really the interpersonal workings of the relationships here, the relationships between the 4 of them, and then their sort of, branching out to their own families and children. And, in the teacher's case, she's got this really difficult student that may or may not have killed her dog, and so they butt heads. So all of that stuff I think was a little more interesting than the murder, but I think that is the point of this show. I think the murder is to sort of maybe get people in the door and say, oh, what's going on with this murder, but really the bread and butter of this show is kind of the inner workings of the garden club members, specifically these 4, and then also their interpersonal relationships with others. I think that's where this show kind of shines and shows itself, and that's why I do sort of like A Million Little Things was very dramatic and very realistic. I do think that, yes, there's some silliness here, but I think if these people were in these situations in the real world, they would behave in these manners. So I do get a sort of realistic vibe from this show, even though, yes, it is, like I keep saying, a little bit tongue in cheek as well. The background music being a little bit sillier does harken back to the Desperate Housewives days. But I think there's a little more at play here than just like, oh, let's hide this body. Oh no, what's going to happen? Obviously, something like this is also bonding for these four members of the Garden Society as well. So I think that helps kind of flesh out their characters a bit more as they are, leading double lives too. So overall, look, this is a pretty decent show. I was a little surprised actually that this aired on NBC proper before re-airing on Peacock, just because we don't see a lot of long form dramatic series these days on network television. I mean, certainly This Is Us, but that ended a couple of years ago. Even thinking back to all of the shows, the new shows from this year, Elsbeth is very procedural. Every week is a different case. Brilliant Minds. Yeah, there's a little bit of a thread there, but it's like, oh, what's the case of the week? Same thing with Watson. And so I was a little surprised that this actually aired on NBC. Even NBC's own The Hunting Party. Yeah, there's a through line there, but it's a different kind of case of the week every week. This is going to reward its viewers for sticking with it and watching every week. And I think a lot of people probably were just going to wait anyway until the season was done and watch it on Peacock at their leisure, which is what I ended up doing. But I give Grosse Pointe Garden Society a B. Again, I don't know if we're going to get a season 2 of this, but perhaps NBC has plans for the mid-season for this one. All right, thank you so much for watching Dan Reviews It, and I will see you next time.